Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Kamma daf Amud Aleph, 98a. So we just Tzadikhet Amud Aleph, yes. Okay, 98a. So Tzadikhet Amud Aleph says, we were just speaking about that what happens right now if all of a sudden you come and you, let's say, for example, you lent money. And all of a sudden, because of the value of the money value changed, but now all of a sudden, now you could buy much more fruits. So if it was that it went down in value, so you're right, you're going to pay less. Because beforehand, right, all of a sudden now, right, you're going to have to pay less because, listen, according to the new coins, we're going to be menakim min hapiraon be'etem. But if it's going to be that the entire world, the fruits went down in value, so therefore, no, we give you, and if you can buy more, no problem. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, this is where we're starting now. Veha kashevach, right? Linyan naska. He says the new matbea is already worth more in money, and therefore it's ribit. Tachshov, I'm going to lend you money, and I give you the money, and all of a sudden they come and they say, you know what? From now on, we're going to use pure silver. Right? The majority of the coins nowadays is not pure silver. No. Right? No, it's not 100% pure silver, no. So if it's going to become now pure silver, so now all of a sudden you have a rebate. Because I gave you, let's say I gave you in dollar bills. Dollar bills is paper, it's worth nothing. And all of a sudden you come and you give me in silver. Technically, do you know that once upon a time, people would come, I think they made it illegal, but they would come, they would take the pennies and they would take all these things, they would melt it, and then they would make more money by selling it, by the melted metal.
The bonds, no.
Right? They would, by the melted metal, the actual value of the penny. Right? I don't remember if they did that. I think it was with pennies they did it. If I remember, I don't remember. I remember they were doing something that, I don't know if they were doing with what type of coins, because it was worth more. So it's rebit. So says Gemara, Ella, ki had Rav Papa v'Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua avdi uvda. When Rav Papa and Rav Huna bered Yoshua were doing this, bezuze de agardamis taya. They were doing it with money of agardamis, that he was a Socher Ishmaeli, that he had old coins and new coins, and therefore you could actually check the coins. Ad asara betamanya, which means that you could actually check 10 to 8, which means if you had 8 of the Slaim Chadashim was worth 10 of the old ones. Okay? Meaning, in the olden days, it was many times on value. So I had a coin, this coin has a value of $5. I have another coin, nowadays everything's universal. So a quarter is a quarter. Right? $1 coin is a dollar coin. You know? I don't know. It has a, so he says, if you take the new one and the old one, it was a difference from 10 to 8. So one was worth $10 and one was worth $8, right? Because of the difference in the coin. So Amar Rabbi comes and he says, Hazorek matbea shel chavero liyam hagadol patur. Right? Imagine right now, you come and you're going to throw a matbea of your friend in the Yam Hagadol. Right? Even if you can't take it yourself, and obviously, you have to say, how are you? You're still going to be patur. My time on what's the reasoning? Amar hamanach kamach. He says the matbea is right in front of you. You buy it, chakli, if you want, take it. Which means, since his matbea is inside of the yam, he could take it out. So it's not considered mamash lost. So therefore, he's not going to be chayav l'shalem mazik. And even though he has to come and he has to take it out or whatever it is, right? It's only a grama. Because at the end of the day, go swimming. Sounds good, no? Imagine, I'm going to take your coin, throw it inside the sea over here. I'm going to tell you, go fetch it. Yeah? Okay. Well, that's what he says, because it's a grama, because you could still take it out. So says the Gemara, Hanemile bitzlulim. That's only if the water is so clear that you can actually even see where it is. But if it's water that you can't see it, no. Meaning that, for example, right? I remember here, somebody's glasses once, I think it was my son's glasses, fell in the bayside, right? They fell in the water. What Kaddish? In the bay, here. Yeah? Kaddish. That's it. Yeah. Not only שהם ייכנס, אפילו אם אתה רוצה להיכנס. אתה לא יכול לראות. Yeah, and it was in a... Depends where you are.
Fish.
So the hanemile, not only does it have to be actually tselul, which means maim tselulim, which is see-through water, te adye aduye, right? That he went and he did it, that you can't pick it up, which means that it was in basically it was in his hands, and then he hid it out of his hands, right? Aval shakle biyadeh, but if he actually picked it up, gazle, he already stole it. and then Hashava b'Hamevet, then he has to give it back, which means like this. If I have a coin, pretend this is a coin. Yeah, this is the coin. And now you come and you knock it. So that was the case. But if it's going to be that it wasn't the coin, right? And then what happened is that it basically he picked it up. The second he steals it. Once he steals it, he has to give it back. So the case was that he went and he knocked it. And once he knocked it out of his hand, that was the case. But if he actually picked it up, Kaddish. Okay, he has to give it back. So Mativ Rava comes and he asks the following question. You cannot do michalelin perot maaser sheni on money that you don't have in your reshut. Keitza, what's the case? If you had money in a far off place, in Kastra or Behar HaMelech, so he says it's sakana to get there. Or shenafal mikisol yom hagadol, or your keys fell in the yom hagadol. You don't know how to do michalel there. So what are you talking about then? It means it comes out that it's on your reshut. So says the Gemara, Rabba says, Shanel, Yan Maaser, Dabina Metsu Biyadecha, Rachman Amar, V'sarta Kesav Biyadecha V'leka, meaning English. Even though you have your money in Yam HaGadol, it's not enough. You need V'sarta Kesav Biyadecha, has to be Biyad, V'yadayim Shilcha. So if it's not going to be in your hands, you cannot be Mechalel Maaser Sheni. So this is like a different lacha. Now Amar Rabba, and Rabba says, Hashaf Matbe'a Shel Chaviro. If you come and you started scraping the Matbe'a of your friend, and therefore you made it less of a tzura, you're going to be patur. My time was reasoning that you didn't do anything. Meaning, at the end of the day, right, it's not considered a maaser nezek because it's still there. But when is this? That you hit it with a patish and then you made it like more halak. So you flattened it. But if you came and you took it and you were mochek the tzura, then meaning, if I took the coin and I just made it more flat, so then I didn't do a real nezek because it's still a coin. But if I remove the tzura on the coin, so then that's considered a big nezek. So Mativ Rava comes and asks the following question. If you remember, we said that if you're going to come and you're going to hit and you're going to blind your slave or you're going to make your slave deaf, so therefore he goes out free. But if you hit the wall and it was right beside his eye and then he became blind, or hit the wall and right beside his ear and he became deaf, he doesn't go out for free. So it comes out, right, that basically there's a difference between lashchit legamre or not. So we should say the same thing with nizikin. That means even if, as long as you weren't mechaser from the matbea klum, even if you were going to be pichet surato, at the end of the day, this is a nezek you should be chayav l'shalem or not. So Rabba letamed amar Rabba chersho le'aviv ne'erag. According to Shitat Rabba, if a person comes and he makes his father a cheresh, he's chayav mita. Because when it says umakeh aviv imo mot yumat, right, he says she'iev shal charisha v'lo chabura. It doesn't exist to make a person deaf if there's no chabura in the guy's ear, right? He says tetibcha dedam anafla lebeyane. For sure there was a tipat dam that fell inside of his ozen, and therefore that's why the guy became deaf. So according to that, that's what happened. The Amar Rabba says, "Atzorem ozen parato shel chavero." So somebody comes and he's pogem the ear of the para of his chaver, of his friend. The para is going to be patur. My tamot's reasoning. Para kedekamida. You didn't do anything to para. You think you need a nice cow? What do you care now that the cow is missing part of his ear? It still works. He didn't do anything. The kulu shvarim lav legabe mizbeach. He says, no, not all the shvarim are going to be miuad for the mizbeach, which means that even if it became pasul for a krava, at the end of the day, it's not considered nezek. Why? It's like a grama. So Mati Rava comes and he asks, if you're going to do melacha with mechatat, beparat chatat with parat chatat, patur b'dinei adam chayav dinei shamayim. You're going to be patur b'dinei adam and chayav dinei shamayim. Why? It's melachahu. Tolo minkar hezeka. It's not going to be nikar hezek. Aval tzorem, the minkar hezek. But when you cut and you cut the ear, which it is nikar hezek, achanam indu chayav b'dinei adam. You should be chayav b'dinei adam. So Amri says the Gemara, hu adin dafilu tzorem. Even if you're going to come and cut the ear of the friend, you're going to be patur. Akbashvalan comes to teach you dafilu melacha delo minkar hezeka chayav b'dinei shamayim. Even if it's going to be a melacha of mechatat. Remember, mechatat is the waters of the paraduma that you sprinkle on the human being to be mitaher mitumat met, right? Mitumat. So he says, if you do melacha with the mechatat, gamarnu zeu. You're not allowed to use the mechatat anymore. So therefore, here it says we're talking about that you were mazik with the melacha, which is not nikar b'mayim, and therefore you're going to be chayav dinei shamayim, not dinei adam. So if it's going to be nikar, so then that's it. So says the Gemara, the Amar Rabba, and Rabba comes and he says, hasorev shtaro shel chavero. if you're going to burn the shtar of your friend, you're going to be patur. He could tell him, imagine, I've got a debt document. You owe me $10,000. I have the document. He comes and he burns it. He says, he's patur. Why? It was only a grama. He says it's a grama. Why? The debt document is not money. The debt document brings money. So ever since the debt document brings money, it's a grama. Who garam li hefsed. זה לא שהוא עשה לי הפסד, הוא גרם לי, גרמה, you're פטור בנזקים. Yeah, so מתקיף Rabbi Chama comes and asks, what was the case? Right? Tzadikhet amubet, 98b. Idi kasade diadem I have a b'shtara. If there's witnesses that they know what's in the shtar, lichtov l'shtar, just write a new shtar. V'idile kasade, and if he doesn't have any witnesses, how do we know that it's there? How do we know that it was there? It doesn't make sense. How do we know that it's there? So Amar Rabba says, he says we could explain the Rav Rabba that we're talking about. The Balashtar is ma'amin, right, to the soref and everything. He believes everything that he said, and that's why we said that he's going to believe it. And then obviously we're going to come and you know there's two dots. There's two dots in a few lines. So he says, so Amar Rav Chanina, Amar Rav Dimi Bar Chanina says Rav Dimi Bar Chanina. Tzadichet amuved. Yeah, 98b. We're going until the nekudo time. So he says, right, Had Rabba is a machlok Rabbi Shimon Rabbanani. That which we just said, Rava, that if you're going to soref, shtar chavero shel chavero, you're going to burn the shtar chov, a debt document of your, you're going to be patur, is machlok Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan. According to Rabbi Shimon, that he says, davar gorem lemamon kemamon dami, that if something causes you money, it's money, you're going to be chayav. But according to Rabbanan, that they say, davar gorem lemamon is lav kemamon dami, you're not going to be chayav. So matkif la Ravuna v'Rabbi Yeshua, asked Ravuna v'Yeshua, Eimar d'Shemaleh Rabbi Shimon, maybe we're going to say this of Rabbi Shimon, davar gorem lemamon kemamon dami, but the shikaro mamon, something which is mamash mamon, which in itself is mamon. Kedraba like Rabba. Rabba says, Gazal chametz, if you stole chametz before Pesach, and somebody else comes and he burns it, bamued, right? He's going to be patur. Shakol mitzuvim levar, because everybody's obligated to do it. Meaning, imata ba erev Pesach, vata soref et chametz sheli, right? You come and you burn my chametz. Obviously, you're going to be patur. Everyone has to burn the chametz, right? Leachar Pesach, but if it's going to be after the Pesach, it's a machlok Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan. According to Rabbi Shimon, that he says, you're going to be chayav, right? Why? Because the chametz is something which is gorem lemamon. But according to Rabbanan, right, that means even though at the end of the day it's not worth anything, it's still something which is gufo mamon. But according to the rabbis, they say the varagor is not money, they're going to be patur. Why? But something which is not going to be mamon miyaminan. So Aramima comes and he says, man de dain dina de garmeh. If you're going to judge dina de garmeh, magbi ben de shtar, you could collect the money of the shtar. But if you don't do dina de garmeh, so then you're not going to be collecting the money of the shtar. You know the difference? The dina de garmeh is more than grama. Grama is an indirect cause. Dina de garmeh is it's still a cause, but it's much more direct. There's a whole thing. What's the difference between dina de garmeh and not de garmeh? You know, all these things. So hava uvda v'kafya Rafram leRavashi ve'agbebe ki kishura letzalma. So there was actually a story, and Rafram actually forced Ravashi that he burnt the shtar chov, right, of another person when he was very young. He actually went and he was able to actually collect the money, right, just like a person that's coming and putting a tzura or whatever it is inside of the document, inside of like of one of these beams. Okay, we'll continue from the two dots tomorrow.